Hello and welcome to the WOD India Conversations. I am Mrinalini Ghadiok and I am joined today by Fancy George and Arvind Kumar. I'm an architect, writer, and curator. Having practiced architecture for many years, I ventured into the field of media, exploring narratives that bracketed experiential design and architecture, often expressed through written word and also raising critical questions to challenge prevalent discourse. I'd invite Fancy to share a few words about herself.
Hi, I'm Fancy George. I lead workplace for Thomas Associate Architects in Bangalore. So I've got about 30 years in this particular industry. So, I have watched the workplaces grow from small little cubicle farms to where we are today. So I'm hoping to make an impact in some way in the field that I'm in here. I'm happy to be part of WOD with Harsha Kotak. And yeah, so that's what it is.
So together, we are very excited to introduce a brand new series of chats on behalf of WOD, which is Women in Office Design. It is an international platform that unites women through learning, development, and networking. WOD is a thriving community of 2,000 plus designers, architects, workplace strategists, ergonomists, manufacturers, suppliers, and many, many more. WOD Digital is an exclusive online and app-based platform that lets members engage in open conversation within the community and gives them direct access to make worldwide business contacts. It builds a community where one can expand their network, seek new opportunities, upskill, and learn from industry experts. We welcome you to check out more details on www.woduk.com. But what we are very excited about today is our first conversation of the series, which comes at an interesting time given that Women's Day was recently celebrated around the world. And we have seen and heard a number of women share their experiences, their trials, tribulations, challenges, as well as successes. There have been fascinating conversations that shed light on how women globally have paved their paths and the efforts that they have made to not only rise, but often even stay afloat in their daily routines. So what we were thinking between Fancy, me, and Harsha is that perhaps we should start our series from a different perspective, and therefore we call it From the Other Side. To get this perspective, we are joined by none other than Arvind Kumar, who is the Global Vice President, Indirects of NTT Global Sourcing. He is responsible for overseeing the sourcing strategy, contract negotiations for global supplier partners across areas of real estate, workplace services, payment solutions, travel, and professional services. Based out of the US and India, Arvind has managed a portfolio that spans many entity group companies and manage over $3 billion. But more importantly, the reason that Arvind is here today is that because he's always been an advocate and a voice of reason for supporting women and encouraging their growth within and outside of his workspace. So a very, very warm welcome, Arvind.
Thanks a lot, Mrinalini and Fancy. It's a pleasure and honor. And thanks, Harsha, too, to consider me for this first event and first opportunity to be part of this great journey that you all have been undertaking. Very exciting and really fascinated to know more about it as I spent time with Harsha in the last several weeks to see what can be done. And I'm very excited to be part of this, opportunity to really help share my views and also make sure that we promote and support the right talent within the women community that really helps us achieve the end goal of, making them equal, making them at par to what men say we achieve in the workplace and see them successful, So that's it. So it's a pleasure being here and hopefully get grilled by you in the toughest way possible. So let's see how I fare today.
So I think for us, more than grilling you, Arvind, it's a matter of discussing, where you come from, why you do what you do, and how you're making a contribution in this field. The idea is that, very often this is considered a women's fight. It's considered a fight to be fought by women for women. But it's very encouraging to see that more and more men are taking their part, like they're playing their part and they're pulling their weight. So could you tell us a little bit about where you come from and what your story is?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, right? For me, starting off, like I said, I've always grown up around women, right? And from a young age, my mother is a very well accomplished classical dancer from India. And my grandparents, aunts, they're all very successful in their field of arts and culture. And I've never felt a difference. And I think sometimes I feel that a positive upbringing in the way we were raised to make sure women are treated equally And as I see, it starts from the family. And as I see my cousins, my uncles, everywhere I look around, even today, after so many years, chatting with you all several weeks back, I started thinking about it. And I even look at my daughter and all. I feel we've always given an equal opportunity because I believe there is no difference between a man and a woman. And in the other hand, when I look at my mom, she's been a pillar of strength for the family. She has held a very tough role of not only being a mother, being a wife, and still accomplishing an amazing career over the last 45, 50 years globally. So it's a great inspiration. And I feel women bring a lot of strength to men because they bring a different perspective. And when a woman at home, as a wife, as a daughter, as a sister, you look at various roles they play, they juggle so much. And that demonstrates that they are capable, they're strong, and they're really a strength that sometimes a man needs to understand and appreciate and respect. And keeping that in mind over the years, I've enjoyed and I've learned so much, and I've had some amazing bosses. And I was just thinking back as you said that, Mrinalini, because some of the best bosses I had in my career when times were tough in America, we were going through the depression period, were women bosses. And they actually helped re-engage me and give me an opportunity that has brought me up here today where I am. So, I really thank them, and I miss them a lot even now. And as I speak to you, it's kind of emotional because I haven't seen a couple of them in many years. So I think I'm going to take a moment after this to try to reach out to them and see where they are. And because they're such pillars of strength for me. And it always reminds me, and when I manage my team, that is the same. There is no difference. And I don't feel in any way I should treat a woman any differently or less than me in any capability. So that's the way I look at life. That's the way I've been raised. And that's what, gives me a positive outlook towards making sure, people are treated equally.
I think that's very encouraging. That's a very positive outlook, and it's heartening to hear you say that. And also, given the fact that you're at a senior position in a large global organization, you work with people across the world, you have very close connections with India and with the US. Tell us, how does that translate into your immediate workspace? And I know that there have been certain incidences where you have actively promoted women in certain roles, in more global and more leadership roles. And that's something that we'd like to talk about, that how women fare in leadership roles, given that you yourself mentioned that they have, they come with varying responsibilities and varying sort of tasks that they need to juggle all the time. How does that fare in the workspace?
That's like I said, I think a couple of things. As I work globally, and I've been living abroad more than 26 years, and as I've traveled all over the world, worked in over 60 countries, I see women play different roles in the corporate world. Whether it's architects, as designers, as corporate executives, as managers, delivery people, real estate, you name it, construction, project management, at different levels, different cultures. And it varies by culture. And for me, when I look at it, I think the Western women are very strong. They have a lot more, I think, ability to be successful. As I come to Eastern side of the world, sometimes I feel there's a lot more challenges. Women don't get the same recognition and sometimes the same opportunity. So I took it upon a challenge in myself when I built my global organization, I built quite a bit of it in India, and they're truly global people. They manage a portfolio all over the world under my scope. And then I had an opportunity and an opening for a real estate category director to manage a global portfolio in 90 countries. And that's when I found Anita, who is based out of India in Mumbai, one of the NTD companies. I met her 2.5 years ago. And just chatting with her, I was trying to ask her and see what her ambitions were. She expressed interest in growth. She was doing an IM course. She was trying to enable herself to be better. But when I look at a 20-year career, for a lady who has fought the system, struggled, tried to be successful, and her reason to go to IMs and getting an executive course was to help her get ahead and be able to compete stronger. But I felt there's a bigger opportunity. And I made up that day in my mind that I think she's a perfect person to give a chance. And I took the global role I had and brought it down to India and gave her the opportunity and made her the first global category director in sourcing in the NTT group worldwide. And she's an Indian, very happy to see her. And I wanted to also make sure that she appreciates. Sometimes I feel Anita, being who she is, still sometimes lacked the confidence or worried about having such a big responsibility. And part of the test for me and her as we got onto this engagement is how does she learn? How does she stand strong? How does she take lead? And how does she grow? She has 20 years of experience, but this is the time for her to use it, demonstrate it, and achieve those dreams she wants to do. So it's a very big honor for me to give her that opportunity and see her successful. She's been with me now for a while. She's done an amazing job, lot more to do, but every day is a learning. But at least what I'm proud about is that she is stepping up, she's taking the lead, and she's really demonstrating that if you follow your passion, and given the right opportunity, and as a leader, for me, the most important thing is to give her the right support of the platform, right? That's the most important. When you do that, I think you can see success. And she's done a fantastic job, and I'm looking forward for this year as she grows in her role.
I think that's amazing, and I think Anita is quite the example that you use. You did mention that there seems to be a considerable difference between women in the West versus in the East, and there are certain challenges, of course, that women face across the globe. But there are certain, I would imagine, cultural nuances that affect us in the way that we work, in the way that and what we bring to the table. So, do you feel, having worked on both fronts, do you feel that there's a considerable or a significant sort of difference in approach to work that women bring?
Absolutely, right. And I also believe, depending on how you're growing up in the system, the kind of schooling, the kind of outlook, the kind of, I feel, culture you work around, I think I've seen a difference in certain women being very successful and certain women still trying to find that success or that opportunity to be successful, right, and achieve those dreams. So I truly feel that when you look at this approach, that overall, when you find the way to go forward, I think the women in Asia or the eastern side of the world need a little bit more support, and I feel it is important that the male colleagues and the men in roles, key roles, give that opportunity, and make sure that it's not only about giving opportunity as a giveaway. I think it's giving opportunity the merit that they know their business, they can deliver the business, and they can be successful at it, right? But what is the difference between success and failure for me as a leader is the amount of time and effort we put in really giving the platform and the support and the development opportunities and learnings that I've learned over the years in my role and stuff, to make sure that that can be passed on and that makes them equally successful as they go through the journey.
But that doesn't necessarily have anything to do with being male or female, right? That is just giving opportunities to people who deserve it and based on merit.
But I think the problem is, while you look at that, I don't think there are organizations that put enough effort. When I take my leadership team, my HR head, who's Lori, my CEO, Mark, they take an amazing amount of effort to bring diversity and create that atmosphere of equality, create that atmosphere, giving women the balance in our teams to really make it an equally driven, successful organization. That makes a big difference, because when there's an opportunity, many times, like this category real estate role, if you take the normal way, it would have gone to a man, okay, because people feel they're
Why is
stronger.
that?
Because I think we're looking at the sector in the real estate world, right? When you look at certain roles, I see in the industry, if you look around you, most of the roles are led by men. I see very few women leading those roles, right?
So
So
that's
I
that
feel,
possible, in your opinion.
yeah. So for me, I think it's just the perception of how people think versus when I see the opportunity, I feel women should be equally challenged and equally, they have the merit, they have the credentials, they have the capability, should be given an equal chance to fight for those roles and earn it and take it. So
Completely.
I feel it's also important, Mrinalini, that when you build an organization, we have the right diversity. For me, I love it because I don't want a male-driven organization and there's one woman in the team, right? Because it's not equal. Because all the women I have in my team, and I continue to find opportunities to open those roles up, they bring a different perspective and they work different. They add different value to discussions. So I think it's a fantastic opportunity to leverage that and create that diversity within the team to really make sure that everybody benefits from it.
I'm actually glad that you brought that up, because I wanted to touch upon this whole idea of diversity and checking off boxes, right? Especially more and more so now when we have more organizations or companies that are establishing themselves, that this idea of having diversity is a particular requirement. but it's nothing more than just a checklist and a tick box. And what ends up happening is, like you very rightly said, that you'll have a room full of men and you'll have one woman over there, and that woman is literally representing a gender. She's not there because she is necessarily productively contributing to the conversation, but she's there because she's required to be there to represent a particular sect of people. But how do you kind of work with that? Because we need to break away from that, right? And we need to look at diversity at a larger scale and see that people actually respond, people can contribute and as well as respond to what is being brought to the table.
So, that's a very important point to make, right? And that's where I strongly, have a different view. For me, growing up in India, living abroad, growing up in the ranks in the US and working for global companies, American, French, Japanese, I always felt that diversity, while being a checkbox in many cases, but I've met a lot of great leaders and great teams and great departments who believed in that as part of what brings value to a company. Like I take my organization right now, my executive team, even some of the companies in the US, some of the bigger entity organizations, very, very big on that aspect, right? And it's not proven by a checklist in the box, but it's proven by when I see people being promoted, people being given key roles, people being given the opportunity. And you see from top leadership down, all the way through the organization to bottom, you see that change happen. You see that equalness. When you talk to people, you see women in key roles. You see women in different roles where you would have never thought. And so when you see that being adapted, we feel proud. And what's exciting is, again, I think it's a mindset. It's, again, driven by people wanting to be committed. And I personally, while it can be a checklist, Mrinalini, in many companies, but we as leaders who run departments and functions can make a checklist a reality by being part of it and by breathing it, living it, and believing in it, and demonstrating it and showing the success of it. That is the difference, right? And that's why I feel individuals make a difference. Leaders make a difference, whether it's a male or female leader. I think it applies equally. I think they need to bring the best people, best talent, and make sure that women certainly are given an opportunity, which sometimes I feel are not done because of the checklist criteria. But I think if you do it right, we can make a difference. And that's what I've seen. That's what I do myself every day in what I do.
Even in smaller companies in India, Arvind, because this is true for all large companies that they have this program, and it's kind of a process that they follow. But in smaller companies, it's a cultural mindset. It's, like you said, it's top driven, but it doesn't necessarily happen the way you're saying in smaller companies.
So that's true, right? And Fancy, I think that's where I believe. I think there are two ways to look at that. One is men need to realize that women play an important role, and they need to look in their own house and see from mother down to wife to sister what they all contribute. So they should start respecting and start believing they add value. Second thing, hopefully they've learned over time working in organizations that they do make a difference. And third, most important, Fancy, I think we as leaders, and every time I get an opportunity, whether it's a small company I'm talking to, I'm mentoring an organization, I'm talking to executives of a medium-sized business, right? We look at professionals and we look at opportunities and we see people in their staff, and we should recognize them, push them into projects and make that influence happen. And hopefully it is a ripple effect that over time people will change, right? So it starts somewhere. And we all, I think, are equally responsible for the failure or success of that happening and not happening. I'm not saying it's a woman or man's role, but I'm just saying we, all of us, whether it's a woman or a man, based on the role we play, based on the influence we have, based on the actions we take, should be able to demonstrate to all of these levels of companies that this value addition in their system is a game changer. And
so
if they
increase awareness.
Absolutely increase awareness and lead by example, right? Today, I'm very proud to do what I do. I'm open to talk about it. And I challenge people to talk to the team members I have openly and ask them, what has Anita gone through? What has Swati gone through? They will tell you, the experience. Anita has been with me nearly a year. Swati has been with me 7 years. I brought her from my old company. And they will tell you, support them through challenges at home, when they're not well, family, daughter has an exam, we have to juggle. Hey, go ahead. I give them time off, give them the break, let them manage it, give them the ability and responsibility to say, hey, there's a job to be done. You know what's priority, get it done. Take the time you need, manage it. Okay,
Yes.
Sometimes, exactly. And sometimes, for me, it's outcome driven, delivery based. I don't care sometimes if you're, working, you want to work 3 days a week and you want 2 days off because you're had, as long as, you're getting the job done, the business is not suffering, take it. Because people have to understand that women have a challenging job and, sometimes, it is, but I also believe that when you do that, Fancy, I think the women also understand, appreciate, and recognize what I do and as a leader. And I think they also accommodate to manage the needs of the business, which is, again, it's a give and take. It's not a perfect world. I can't, make it exactly the same for all, but certainly I give them a little bit extra benefit than the guys. And, it's okay. It's well earned and deserved.
Do your peers and colleagues think like you, Arvind?
I'm hoping they do. And at least sometimes I see a challenge and sometimes I see a struggle. But at the same time, Kanti, Mrinalini, I have to tell you, there are a lot of people I'm meeting over the last so many years in the corporate world globally, in Europe, in America, and Latin America, who really have enabled, and suppliers of mine, who have truly enabled a larger women force than the male force in their organization. And they're really seeing value. And I'm seeing them push them. I'm seeing them give them an opportunity. And I'm seeing them give them the respect and the balance in the system to drive results. So it is changing. And I'm seeing it from South America down all the way to Asia. And I feel more we promote, more we push, more we have like-minded people showing them the value, I think things are going to change.
So, Arvind, I want to ask you, if you had two candidates, one man, one woman, with the same qualifications, similar capabilities, and potential to grow within the organization and contribute to the organization, who would you hire? And for you, would one have more advantage over the other?
So that's an interesting question, right? Because if all things said equal, right, and given where the organization stands, I would give the opportunity to women because I feel there's a lot of over the years in my career I've given a lot of opportunity to men and male candidates, and I really believe that I think I can do a lot more, and I feel there's a bigger opportunity. So I would like to keep an organization at a 50-50% between male and female employees, because I think it brings a true diversity and it brings true value addition. So right now, that's why I said when I came in the real estate category, I have a lot of male candidates. But then when I looked at Anita's story, I felt so touched and I felt excited and I felt she, given the chance, she'll work harder, smarter, and she will do a much better job. So for me, end of the day, she got the job, when I had other opportunities. So that's the way I look at it. And then, of course, it's a mix always, right? You find the right candidates for the right roles. But wherever I get a chance, I would always give an opportunity to female candidates first, because again, like I said, I think it's not only about giving them an opportunity, but also I want the mix, I want the diversity, I want to bring the differentiation they bring to the team and to myself and the way I think and work, and make me, I think, more humble in how I do certain things. Give me a different perspective that sometimes maybe I may not realize what I'm doing or not doing, right? And give me a check and balance. So it's a great opportunity to do that.
And as somebody who's been hiring so many people, you've played this critical role of being a mentor to many people across the world and across the years. What do you think is your critical role as a mentor? What is it? How do you contribute to that journey?
So I think two things, right? And I was telling Fancy this also. Fancy is part of another group, and we were discussing this the other day, right? I truly believe, as a mentor, a couple of basic things you do. First, you create a safe zone. A lot of times, women, especially women, find it very tough to communicate certain challenges, certain issues, certain shortcomings with male bosses or male mentors, right? Because they feel there is a barrier, if broken, they feel vulnerable. I think first task that I believe as a mentor is to really make sure we create a safe zone for them to come talk openly, talk whatever is needed, so that they feel comfortable that there's somebody they can talk to outside of the husband, outside of the partner, and trust in someone that can give them the right guidance, at least a sounding board. Second, as a mentor, I believe it's important to share my learnings. 26 years being in the corporate world, all over the world, working. I've learned a lot. I've seen a lot. I've felt a lot. And I think it's important that as a mentor to share that best practice, share the experience, share the shortcomings that I made mistakes in my career, I've learned the hard way sometimes to make sure that they are successful. At least they learn from it. Third, I think as a mentor, it's important to give them the right support and guidance in their career of how to navigate themselves. Sometimes it's a challenge of an interview. Sometimes it's a challenge of, like I was talking to my daughter the other day, and she is trying to get promoted. So it's a big debate, and I'm trying to listen to her, and she says she's asking me as a father, what did I do in my career, and then what should she do? But then when I went to tell her what to do, she's like, no, Dad, I think I know what to do. I said, okay. Then she came back a week later and said, it's a different challenge now because I thought it was a normal promotion interview, but now they said they're going to evaluate me through a case study. I said, what does that mean? They said they're going to give me a case study to work on it for a month, then present the outcome, and then they will decide whether I'm promotable or not. So very interesting approach, right? So, and she's a girl, right? I want to help her as a father, but at the same time, I have to respect her boundaries and I have to treat her as a professional and be a leader. And the only thing I can do in this capacity as a father and a professional is guide her, make sure she's comfortable, make sure she takes a different approach. How does she plan herself? What does she do about it? If given a chance, she's ready to share with me a case study. At least I can have an input in it or share my experience. So at least do that. And that's where I feel as a mentor is I think you have to go above and beyond and make sure that people are heard, because what is the role of a mentor in the end of the day? They want to talk to somebody and get some guidance and get some comfort to say, are they doing right? Are they doing wrong? Where are they heading? And share the reasons why I have been successful. What did I do different than others? How did I come from a young kid landing into America at age 19 and today running a multi-billion-dollar business globally? What took me here, right? What is the journey? A lot of people don't understand the journey. So everybody has a different journey, and at least I can share my journey as a mentor. So that's the way I look at it, and I really believe it's a great opportunity. And I'm always available, and I volunteer. I know I have a crazy schedule, but still, wherever if people feel I can mentor them, I'll be glad to do that. At any given time, take time to do that. It's always a pleasure, and it's. I always look at my daughter and say, if I can do more, I would love to do it. So I'm always there to help anybody that needs help. Not a problem at all.
No, glad. I actually will come back to this because I know that you want to share your kind of resources at the end of this conversation and open it up to the public and to our audience. But I think an important point that you hit earlier was this idea of providing a safe and secure environment for people to work in. And I think that becomes very, very sort of critical for anyone, man or woman. But given what we're talking about and given the recent, things that have developments that have happened over the last few years, especially with this whole idea of the Me Too movement, where a lot of women have come forth and have expressed their experiences in the workspace and in the working environment. It's interesting to note that when this started to happen, a lot of women felt empowered enough to come forth and actually express what they had gone through and, be honest about their experience in the workspace. But on the flip side, what was also happening, and this is something that I have personally heard in Delhi, a set of senior lawyers who've turned around and said that, because of this whole thing, we're just going to avoid the risk and not hire women anymore. So instead of addressing the matter, they've turned around and they said, let's just avoid it completely, right? If there are no women in the office, there will never be a situation like this. We will never get into trouble. And so all well. What do you have to say to something like
that? So that's a interesting topic and a controversial one, right? In many cases. So I think here's the way I look at it. I don't think people should take what happened or is happening in a negative way to start changing their way of accepting women in the workplace. There are the goods and the bads of it, right? The Me Too movement brought out a lot of abuse of power by male members in the business world, which I think are important to be stopped, because I think that's the wrong way to do it. And not only male, it can also be female bosses sometimes have done the same, right? But at the same time, we also have to be careful a bit, because I think, there are cases where I've heard many times women take the wrong side advantage of such opportunities.
Sure.
to create a situation. Well, I'm not saying that's what everybody's doing, but what I'm saying is that people should always trust and do the right thing for the right reasons. When a lawyer community says that, then I start to wonder, is there another issue going on? Because they are worried that there could be something that pops up that creates a bigger issue. Because
Right.
if you're doing nothing wrong and you're doing everything right, then let the flow happen and let it be as is. Right? I don't think because of the Me Too movement, suddenly one should start changing their perception and taking a different course of action. The more the reason I feel that men should be more confident, more transparent, and more opportunistic to allow women in the workplace, have the freedom, give them the opportunity, and go and demonstrate that if we are doing everything right, creating the opportunities as we plan, giving the right system and support in the business environment we work in, things will be okay. And I think you'll see a better outcome. I think it's a very wrong move for people such as these legal community experts to really go down a negative path. I think they're creating a wrong direction. It's a wrong image of what reality is. And by doing that, they're actually disrupting a system that has struggled a lot already. And to go back and creating it's a kind of this non-spoken discrimination
Mm-hmm.
that's controlled by power behind the scenes without being enabled on the front end, right? And I think that's taking away a lot of opportunity from people. I think that's the wrong way to work. So I truly don't agree with that approach. On the other hand, I think it is more the time to really empower, be open, be transparent, and show that if everything done right, creates a great working environment with women in it. And leaders like myself should do that, and others should follow.
Isn't this a kind of a tough ask, Arvind? Because there are not many people, again, I'm coming back to the point, there are not many people who think like you. So where do we start? How do we
I,
start changing this mindset?
I think, Fancy, the important part of how do we change this, I think it comes down to a certain level of professionalism and a certain level of discourse and a certain level of, mentoring, I would say, in that sense, of coaching.
At
Yeah.
what level? So schools? So maybe
I, for me, it starts at home.
at
If
home.
if a male child is born in India, doesn't respect and is taught that women are equal, and is always taught to be seeing that you are more stronger, whether it comes to festivals, it comes to weddings, it comes to all these different events you go through in your lifetime. And if those are not corrected at the course and source of a problem, and parents create that differentiation, I think it's very hard to change even when they grow up because they tend to think that way. I think it starts at home, it starts in school, it goes into corporate world, it goes to college into your professional world, and the professional world is where truly it kind of starts coming out in you. I think there's an opportunity to course correct when a person is, even if home raised not right, course correct during college and coming into your career and taught again correctly. And that's where I feel women have an equal role to course correct people at a young age and set the expectation that they are not any different, they're not weaker, they are equally strong and they're equally smart. And I think that lesson in life hopefully creates an awakening in a lot of men. If not, hopefully when they get married, they get a sense of reality that women play a critical role. And hopefully by then also they don't learn that I don't know what to do. Maybe you have to beat them with a stick or something and tease them. But I think
Sorry, continue.
well, no, but I think Fancy, it may, and I've noticed, over the years, and I've worked with several guys in my team who had a different view. But I think over time it's changed. I think it took some time, but how I led, what I did, how we spent creating that system and team effort, creating that synergy and diversity in the business made some changes. Today, some of those guys respect women, keep them with the same caliber, do not look down on them, and really, give them the right opportunity.
If I may add, I recently read, I think a couple of days ago, I read an interesting quote that someone had said saying that daughters are being brought up like sons, right? And where we're kind of changing our mindset and how we're treating our children, but not enough sons are being brought up as daughters.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's true. That's exactly my point, right? I have a daughter, only one, and from the time she was born to now, never gave her an opportunity to feel she's different. On the other hand, I pushed her harder to be stronger because I don't want her to depend on a male for her life. I always tell my daughter, be independent, achieve your success or failures, be earning, be self-sustainable. And then in the end, you decide to marry somebody, be with somebody, that's a choice you make, but never depend on that person. Because in the end, you have to stand strong for yourself. I'm here, when I'm not here anymore, I don't know what, I'm not going to be there to help you all your life. So you have to do it on your own. And since then, I have always pushed her. She's lived on her own from a young age. She's lived in India while I was living in America. She studied here. She lived in Europe, back in the US. She's lived from 10th grade to now, last 8 years or 9 years. She's been on her own all over the world, living and learning and being a global citizen. I love it. And even today, she doesn't ask me for help. And that's the amazing part. Again, the same time, that's why I said, some of us who have been brought up a certain way have given that opportunity to the female child and my daughter. At the same time, I feel a lot of us who have, and I have friends, a lot of them who have children, who have sons. I'm hoping that they're giving them the same education and treating them, not only being independent and self-sustainable and being who they want to be, but also understanding and respecting the value of the women in their life and women as part of the system they live and breathe in, and making sure that they feel the pain, the struggle, the challenges they go through. And again, I strongly believe equality starts at home. And if that bond is not created, I think it's a very tough mindset to change. And hopefully, I've changed a few people over the years, but it's a hard fight.
I think I'd like for it to be, I'm a little bit of an idealist where it comes to these things, and I'd like for it to be a situation, hopefully soon enough, where we don't have to differentiate between men and women, where, when we have a conversation about this again in however many years, I don't have an Arvind coming and telling me that, oh, I actually hire women over men, but it should just be I hire based on merit, irrespective of, whether they're women or men. And we don't need to provide extra opportunities and avenues for women just so that they can come to par with men.
I think we've come a long ways. Imagine, I look at my mother, she's been in dancing in the art world for over 50 years now, I think nearly 50, maybe 55 years, long time. She came through an era which is much more harder in India, with lack of education in people, lack of mindset of men. Women are supposed to be caretakers and sit in the house and take care of the family. And she fought through all those years. So today, when I look at women, and I look at my daughter, and I look at all of you here on this call, I think we've come a long ways apart, right? Even in India. And I'm hoping that all of you make a difference. All of you create the excitement at work of bringing different perceptions and opportunities to the table. And I'm hoping that in the next years to come, that it will be much more prevalent and we will not have that conversation. And if we have it, it's at a very minimalistic level, which is more about fixing small things and not big picture issues that we deal with on a daily basis, right? So I think, like I said, Mrinalini, you're a classic kid. Interestingly, you're from the same school. I graduated 10 years junior to me, right? Yes. And, look at where you are today. So, I look at you, very proud to see you being part of the system we all grew up in. And I look at you and I look at many people before you and my class and younger to me and a bit senior to me. And I look at them and I say, man, they've done great. But then, the reason, they have had some challenges, no doubt, but I think you all have done fantastic. Why? Because I truly believe two things. One, it is your own personal determination, your way of handling through struggles. You've fought through those challenges and you're determined to achieve certain level of success. So nobody can take that away from you. That makes you who you are. But also I feel your parents, and also I feel a lot of the people you grew up around, like people like us, who have grown up in the same school system. We were learned to respect and we would learn to treat people equally. And that upbringing made a difference. So today, when I look back in time with you, my brother, who's also a friend of yours and from the same school, myself, I look at Fancy, who I met recently, through a connect. I feel that's what makes the difference. And I look at us and I say, wow, this is great. But what is important is I see a lot more challenges. I was driving the taxi the other day. And the taxi driver started talking to me. And he said, where are you from? Because he heard me speak to my mom in Tamil. He said, are you Tamilian? I said, yes. He said, oh, I've had great bosses who are Tamilian. I said, really? And he's a North Indian guy. So I said, excellent. So he was driving Uber. And, he told me, he said, I have 2 daughters. And they both, I come from a poor background, I'm not educated, but I spent a lot of money and time educating them. One went to hospitality school and one went to an air, this air hostess training kind of institute. And both of them are struggling. And they're also doing their graduation. One is graduated, one is doing her college. And he, he felt sad because he felt a big struggle that what will happen to his daughters in the future, because there is nobody to guide. They're without a job in these post-COVID times, and one of them is starting to work in a BPO because she has to support the family. It was very emotional for me because when I heard that story, I, like I said, I felt sad, and I felt, how come there are, people in the lower income groups of India where the parents are working so hard, and some of these girls who studied and they even speak English and all, they don't come from a family who is educated, are struggling because there is nobody to guide and there's nobody to support them through some of those challenges. Some of them are lucky, I feel, and some of them. So I volunteered, right? I gave him my number and I said, hey, have your daughters call me. And I said, I'm happy that you had good bosses who are South Indian. I said, but here's the news. My parents have trained me to be good and to support, and they've always done that for many people in their life. And I've been able to create many jobs for people in my career. So I volunteered, and I gave him my number and said, let his daughters call me, because I think, knowing all the people I know in the business community in India, I'm sure we can find them a job. As long as they're hardworking, as long as they're committed, as long as they're serious about their career, I'm sure we can find an opportunity to do that. And you know what, the way I look at it, and the only thing I asked him in the end, I said, this is the deal. If I help you do this and get your daughter settled, you have to do me one favor, and your daughters have to do me a favor, which is you have to do the same for some other girls.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I don't want anything in return. Okay? I don't want anything from your daughter, nothing. I'm not asking anything. I'm going to do it because that's the right thing to do. And I would love to see them build their career and be part of something being successful. Because you have spent the time, and I'll tell you why I offered the help. Because that man, being uneducated, being a driver all his life, having 3 kids, 1 young boy and 2 girls, and in India, there's a lot of burden on families with dowry and all these other challenges you feel in these communities. He fought hard with his wife, have worked to raise 2 daughters and got them educated, got them college educated, got them working, got them trained, and is supporting them to be independent and not sit at home and make them, illiterate and just get married and live their life. That prompted me to say, I need to help this guy, because if you help him, his daughters are successful. Those girls feel successful to help. It's a chain you create, and you create a positive mindset. Therefore, more people will do it, and there's a cycle that's broken. And I think it's important for all of us to know what cycles to break, and look at these conversations and these small things, journeys of life you go through, and appreciate, respect, and take care of business, right? And those are the small changes I believe you have to contribute, whether it's me, it's you, and make a difference. It changes many people. Because you and I never know how many people's lives will change. Because tomorrow those girls will get married, they will have children, want to make sure their children who are girls get educated, get supported, get driven to the right level. To do that, we have to make a difference, and every little bit helps, every little bit counts, and that's the way I think. That's the opportunity I look at, and these small things make a big difference to me. I'm an emotional guy sometimes, I feel, because it's tough to see this, and it's sometimes painful, but in our own little way, doing these small things anywhere of the world. I've done this in Africa, I've done this in South America, I've done this in China, wherever I got a chance, helping people, creating jobs, bringing opportunity. So I think it's part of how you live, how you breathe, and being in power, being in the role I sit, you can make a lot of influence happen. And I think you have to influence the right way, you have to promote the right way, you have to bring awareness to people, and you have to make people excited. I remember when I gave him my number, he was super excited, and he said he's going to have them call me because he never realized. And the only thing, he asked me, he said, I'm so glad you offered to help, because I don't have any guidance. I'm not educated. I don't know anywhere to go to how to help my daughters, even if they want to do something in life. And just you being there and you offering to help. He said, whether anything comes of it or not,
Hmm.
but just an offering to help and them to talk to somebody. He said it's such a big thing for him, and it's such a big, and he's so grateful. So that was very touching, like I said, and I'm happy to be there. And whenever he gets a chance, they feel they want to reach out. Hopefully I can do something at that point.
No, I think that's great, Arvind. I think we just need to do what we can do in our own capacities and our own parts, and set the course, by example. And like you said, sometimes what we need is just that support. Sometimes we need that little push up, a little leg up, and like you said, nothing may come off it, but the fact that they know that they have someone that they can call on, someone that they can use for guidance or as a bouncing board at the end of the day, I think that itself is rather massive. So I would kind of, congratulate you on that and thank you on behalf of both those girls and their father and a larger community for that matter. And like you said, I think what's been really great about this conversation is to also spread awareness, right? What we can do is it becomes a butterfly effect, becomes a domino effect, that you do your part and others will get encouraged to do theirs. So I think that's been quite insightful. Fancy, is there something that you'd like to add?
No, I just wanted to say, I mean, I just hope people listening to you, Arvind, takes a lot away, because you've really given a lot of people food for thought. It's been pretty amazing listening to you. I mean, whatever you say, it's just, I just hope like people get inspired and, take a lot away, honestly.
And like I said, thanks a lot, to both of you and Harsha again for giving me the opportunity to share. And like I said, you know, the last thought I would say, and is I think people should realize, right? The woman word has a man in it, and the woman gives birth to a man, and woman is always there in the life of a man. And without them, you can't create anything. So people have to realize that the word is a strong word, and when people realize the definition of it and what makes a woman, that's when I think people will wake up to see the reality of that they're an equally strong force, and they bring excitement, they bring fun, and they bring diversity to what we do every day in our walk of life and families and everything. So like I said, it's a pleasure, it's an honor, and I'm really humbled to be part of this first session, and looking forward to working with all of you, and hopefully opening up to being a mentor to many people who would love to have an opportunity, that I would love to have an opportunity to mentor them various parts of their life, career, and be part of the journey. So thanks for giving me the chance to be here today, and looking forward to working with both of you soon, and also part of this larger community in the WOD organization. And again, it's a great moment. It gives me a moment to think about my life, my daughter, and my mother, and and see how they've been instrumental in my career, in my life, and continue that journey down the road. So thanks a lot, and really appreciate the time today.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much. Thank you, Arvind.